you've got to have two skill sets. You've got to, one, be the best at what you do, whatever that is, whether it's, engineering, whatever other aspect of the business that you specialize in. Number two, I should say, be a fundraiser. You've got to be as investable as possible and be somebody that you walk into a room and people want to just throw money at you.
Welcome back to the Beige Mogul Show. Today I'm here with a very good friend and mentor of mine, Matthew Gedz. He is a serial entrepreneur and the founder and CEO of Clarity Credit Fund. He's founded several startups in the e-commerce and finance space and has helped entrepreneurs like you raise over $100 million. Welcome to the show, Matthew.
Awesome. Thanks for having me here today.
Yeah, absolutely,
Good to
man.
see you.
How are you?
Fantastic. Thank God, yeah.
Great. Awesome to have you, man. So why don't you start off by telling the audience a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. My entrepreneurial journey actually started in college. I played soccer in college, and I noticed with a lot of the athletes that were in on scholarships, they weren't exactly that articulate, and I was at a liberal arts school, so writing literature and religious pieces was really big. So I saw the first opportunity to basically mentor these guys, sit down with them, not just write the papers for them, but give them a voice and help coach them through the papers. And so eventually I went from the soccer team to the football team to the, I don't want to give out too many, it was a lot of athletes basically. And took that money I made from this mentorship business and then dropped out of school actually. Got my Series 7 license at a prop shop called Bright Trading. Started trading equities and options and started my journey there as a professional investor. I was 20.
20 years old, you dropped out. I was 20 when I dropped out. Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even know
It's
that.
a good year.
Yeah, it's a good time to get started with your life.
Yeah. Derivatives trading was intense, and it was so intense, I only lasted 6 months doing so.
Oh, wow.
And that's when my first hurdle, it was like this glorious rise of such success. The paper writing business is going good, and then bam, I got hit with a big challenge. I've lost most of the fund I was trading.
Wow.
And I had to declare Chapter 7 bankruptcy at 21.
At 21 years old?
21, Chapter 7.
Was there no other way out?
There was no other way. I knew how to get out at the time. I'd highly recommend not declaring bankruptcy. First, talk to me and get an audit of your credit file before that decision's made. I would never have recommended that for me, looking back at it, but yeah, that's what happened.
So you declare bankruptcy at 21. I would have just stopped right there. I mean, how did you keep going?
I had to move back home. I had to move back home and kind of just rethink where I'm at. I mean, but that's the thing. It's a skill set being an activator. A lot of people a lot of people want to be an entrepreneur, but they're afraid of failure. It's like literally a skill set called being an activator, to be willing to just try things, to start things. I was always willing to start things and try things, and that doesn't always work. So that was my first big lesson.
Wow.
Wouldn't call it a failure, but it's definitely a lesson.
A loss ain't a loss, it's a lesson. We always like to think of every loss I've ever had as lessons, which in turn are blessings in disguise because they prepare us for the challenges and the greatness to come, right? Once you lost it all, right, at 21, what type of mindset did it take to gain it all back?
I think I was very blessed to have the mentality of being willing to work for free. I was at a place, I was very blessed to have, two parents who loved me unconditionally and they were very supportive. It wasn't the sexiest thing living at home, in my early 20s, but it gave me that stable foundation that, to basically refigure things out and look for the right mentor. I mean, that's everything, is to find the right mentorship, but be willing to try, different things. Maybe you go to learn, in an accounting, like if you want to be in finance, an accounting mentorship, investment banking mentorship program, being interning, and then not being, not being afraid to work for free. I think a lot of kids these days feel entitled that they should be paid for their time. I think
Right,
that's
right. There's a lack of humility in that younger
Totally.
society. Yeah, for sure. I think, to me, humility is the key to success. I always think about my most humble moments that have led to the greatest breakthroughs, and I'm sure you can relate.
Absolutely.
So you found someone to be mentored by, and what was that process like, asking them to mentor you? Were you direct with it? Were you, did you have a structure, or how did you go about it?
It's funny, when I was out in Chicago, I met this guy, and he was driving like McLarens and G-Wagons and stuff, and I'd seen him out a couple times, at the clubs popping bottles, and which I don't necessarily recommend trying to find a mentor in a nightclub, but but I asked this guy, I'm like, hey, what do you do? And he told me like, oh, like I own a credit repair and business funding company. I'm like, no way. Look, I will, get your laundry. I'll get you coffee. Like, I'm willing to work for free, do whatever it takes to, learn the skill set or work for you, because like I see the lifestyle you're living. And this was in like 2016 in Chicago. And there wasn't too many people driving like exotic cars and whatnot. Like, or if there was, it was a really small circle of people. So it was easy to single this guy out. And I did. I worked for his company for 6 months, and I learned absolutely everything I could about credit repair and business funding.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And then did you go off to then start your own thing, or did you do something with him?
Him and I had a bit of a falling out. No resentment against him.
Yeah.
We just kind of had separate visions.
Yeah.
And but at the time, in like 2017 or whatnot, business funding and credit repair, it's very, in the service-based space, it's very time intensive, and you've got to spend a lot of time with clients on the phone. It's very demanding, and I didn't see the scalability of it. And so I thought, man, like this is going to take a while to accumulate some millions, and it's not the easiest business to raise funding for. Anything in the financial services sector is not like, banks are not exactly racing to give you a loan or a line of credit to be in their same industry, or to teach tips and tricks on how to finesse their system. So there's a huge obstacle in raising capital for a financial services company. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna try something else. So I got to a point where I felt like I hit a wall. Like I could only help so many people.
Yeah.
I could only repair so many clients' credit. I could only do so many fundings. Like there's only so much I could do for myself. And it's something at the time, like I didn't really trust anybody else to do the work I was doing. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll try something that's more scalable and do another business venture. So I went back out and I looked for two more mentors. And this time I came across a couple guys who were in the e-commerce space. And that started a whole new journey of selling products online.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How did you get started with that business?
So again, a situation where I reached out to two guys who were really well respected in the e-commerce space, and I took the money I had made in the credit repair arena and I invested into a venture doing cell phone accessories. Now this was right at the time when the battery case for the iPhones, Apple didn't have their own line of battery charger cases for the phone. So we were some of the first guys to sell battery charger cases, and then also do solar power charging devices. So like a big brick you could leave out in the sun and charge like 8 different iPhones with this thing.
Wow.
So we were some of the first guys to do that, and then it was scalable. It was very scalable, and this is where I got to apply all the skill sets I learned with credit repair and business funding, because I completely bootstrapped that company. All my time went into building this brand.
Wow.
But mostly I was on the finance side of just constantly raising money. And that's some advice I would have for any founder today, is that you've got to have 2 skill sets. You've got to, one, be the best at what you do, whatever that is, whether it's engineering, whatever other aspect of the business that you specialize in. Number 2, I should say, be a fundraiser. You've got to be as investable as possible and be somebody that you walk into a room and people want to just throw money at you. So be good at your own skill set, and then be a master fundraiser. Two things, fundraising, your own master skill set, whatever that business is.
Wow, so
But two
master your
things.
skill set
Master your skill set.
and raise capital.
Right, and be a
Learn.
master fundraiser.
Master
Every
fundraiser.
founder's got to be a fundraiser.
Yeah.
No matter, whether that's private debt, venture capital debt, bank debt,
Yeah.
be a fundraiser.
Right, absolutely.
It's essential.
Absolutely. So ultimately, what happened with the e-commerce startup?
Ultimately, that business went down during COVID in June of 2020. It was a good run, founded in December of 2017. And product-based e-commerce was very cyclical. And then of course, all of the while in the background, you've got the rise of Bezos' Amazon just crushing it. you
Yeah.
know, and Amazon slowly becoming just a monster in the
Right.
e-commerce space,
Yeah.
just destroying all the little mom and pop shops. I mean, we were making millions, but we're still a little mom and pop shop compared to Amazon.
Yeah, of course.
So that was hurting the business. Then COVID came, and our supply chains were devastated during COVID. The factories shut down, and a lot of e-commerce companies are very highly leveraged. Like the revenue is really high, profit margin's really small, and like a black swan event like COVID just totally swept us away. And so then I was, that was my next big entrepreneurial challenge. It's like, okay, we sold off most of the assets of the business, and then it's like, okay, here we're sitting on a couple $1 million, like what are we gonna do? So we were in this what are we gonna do phase, my co-founder and I, and this was June of 2020, and it was difficult to think about the next step forward.
So you started this e-com business with two other mentors that you sought out. You leveraged a skill set that you were great at, right, that complemented your business partners, right, and your mentors. You grew this business to several $1 million. What was that process like? I mean, how did it feel to build a multi-million-dollar business in such a short amount of time?
I'll tell you what, like I accomplished everything I ever set out to accomplish from a materialistic standpoint. But while that was happening, I became more empty and more hollow on the inside. I had totally stepped away from my Judaism, my spirituality, and I became really hollow. And I was so focused on the exterior of things, I completely forgot to focus on the interior. And I went through a real dark night of the soul, to be honest, and that culminated in an absolutely epic depression. Like after the cell phone accessories company went down in June of 2020, I just was in a very, very dark place. My self-worth is my net worth. And when my net worth went negative, it's like, okay, this isn't sustainable. And so what was required for that next, sure, we still had some capital to make some other moves, but it's like, what was being required of me for this next phase of my entrepreneurial journey and just to evolve in life it was time to, take a more spiritual path because I was broken on the inside. And at the time I started suffering from substance abuse issues and trying to cope with all the, how could this happen again? I'm back to a situation where I could lose everything again.
Right.
And I was turning to all the wrong things.
Yeah.
So it really was one of the greatest things to ever happen in my life to have this opportunity to be faced with all this challenge, all this suffering for the next phase of not only the business evolution, but a personal evolution.
Yeah, I feel like you realize that your personal worth and self-worth is not associated to that of the business. And I feel like that is where a lot of entrepreneurs get it wrong, where they attribute their own sense of worth or accomplishment to how much money is in their bank account or what car they drive or the house that they have, when the two are completely separate things. You determine how much self-worth that you have, not the material things that you own. And I remember when we met, you were living in a mansion in Hollywood Hills. I think you had 2 different mansions. You had 2 different Lamborghinis. You were living the life, man.
Yeah.
You're going to all these parties. How we met is you started off as one of my clients, right, for Beige. That's crazy. Just sidestepping to that real quick, you had given me one of my first like really big gigs. I think it was like a $5,000 shoot that, you had booked me for. And, I show up that day on the day of the shoot, right, with like 15 or 20 people, like just wanting to over deliver on value, seeing how big of an opportunity this was. And then that's where like I see your Lambo, I see your mansion, and I see like this lifestyle that you were living that I was immediately drawn to and so inspired by, right? And you showed me that it was possible. And then I think throughout the years of you mentoring me, I realized that, it's not that truly makes you happy. It's the relationship that you have with yourself, the relationship that you have with your loved ones, and all that other stuff is nice, but it's just cherry on the top.
100%. Now, to really cultivate that relationship and start to like go on this inward journey, it really started when I was at a place in my life where I was, now I'm in my early 30s, and I'm like, how is this possible? Like, I thought like I'd just be lost in my early 20s. Now here I'm in my early 30s and I'm lost again. But it was through this time of just basically getting involved in a recovery program and just learning how to basically give of myself in the altruistic way, to basically be of service to people, whether that's in the recovery community or it's just donating my time. And a lot of people, like, it's a lot about charity, but when you're giving charity, a lot of people think, oh, giving charity, it's like, I gotta like donate money. No, like you can give of your time too, and there's this mentality too, like, oh, like I don't have enough money to, donate to charity. It's like, do you have 25 cents? I'm sure you have 25 cents. Like people need to get out of this mentality of being like a take.
Yeah.
Like we've got too many takers in the world right now. We need more givers.
Yeah.
But people don't understand that wherever you're at today, like you can be a giver. You can donate 25 cents.
Right.
You can donate $1. Like you just need to become and get into the mentality of being a giver. And, and out of this mentality too of like, oh, I have nothing to share with the world. Oh, I have nothing of this. It's like, well, you probably do have something. Like people are so like, they're so self-focused or like self-conscious.
Yeah.
Like they don't have anything to say or they can't do anything. It's like people need to just get outside themselves and start focusing on that other guy who's like a couple steps behind you in your journey.
100%.
Like I've seen you really grow up and it's phenomenal. Like you're doing this podcast now. You know what I mean? It's like you've really grown up and you've really like blown me away with like what you've been able to accomplish, and you're giving back and you're, letting other people tell their stories now. It's just amazing to watch.
Thank you, man. I mean, this stuff to me, right, is like the most fulfilling thing, right? Being able to give back and being able to really like help my platform learn from amazing individuals as yourself, right? So thank you for always being, a great mentor to me and a brother. It really has gone a long way,
Yeah.
So let's focus on the next phase, right? So you fell into this deep depression, which heck, many would, including myself, right? And I've been in a similar position in the past, but after this e-com business, had to shut down. And then you overcame that by really, seeking help, right? What was the first step towards you seeking help? Because I feel like a lot of people in your position at that time would not seek help. They would just think that that's the end right there.
Well, first off, I had to admit that I had a problem. Like that's the first step in any recovery problem is realizing like, hey, what I'm doing is not working. Like I'm trying to do an activity or I'm trying to do something, it's not fun anymore. There is no fun. We're going negative. There's no, there's nothing positive coming from what I'm doing. But like to get to that place takes a profound amount of suffering. It's like how much pain are you going to be in? How much darkness do you want to experience before you're ready to experience the light? It's truly like it's darkest before dawn. Like it's like how much pain is it going to take?
Right.
Another, OD in the hospital, another, friends and family crying, how could you do this again? It's like, what is it going to take for some people? Do you have to lose a leg in a car crash? I can't answer that for the individual person. I know for me, I just couldn't handle it anymore.
Yeah.
And so I reached out to somebody who I respect a lot. And I said, hey, like, I'm ready. Like, I need to change my life. And so I got into a program of recovery. Once that happened, that was like a key part of like the transformation I was able to experience.
Wow.
And then basically, like, I know it sounds cliche, but basically, you know, like, I've always believed in God. I had a belief in God. I had a belief in like spirituality. You know, I come from a Jewish background. I've never experienced God, experienced spirituality, experienced something greater than myself. And once I started helping other people recover, and I started getting outside of myself, and I started, you know, functioning on this altruistic plane of really just helping people without wanting anything in return, like purely for that person, I started experiencing God. I started experiencing power in my life, like a real inner power, a real inner light.
Right.
And that was exactly the catalyst I needed to reach this new level of creativity. And what I realized too is that I never cared about selling those like internet tchotchke products. Like the products were kind of crappy. Like I never really cared about the products. And I lost sight of like being passionate about the career I'm in.
Yeah.
I was so focused on the money, I completely lost myself. Like I didn't even care about what I was doing anymore.
Right.
And you know, your work is your life. You know, like I was literally spending the majority of my time doing something I really didn't care about.
You didn't care
And
about it.
It made me like more like the money, like you think it's great for a time, but you can get so lost, and I was completely lost and I didn't even know it.
Right.
And so going through this kind of like, call it a spiritual awakening, I realized like I want to go back to, you know, doing credit repair, doing business funding, because I like being involved in like other people's journey to financial freedom.
Yeah.
Like I'm fine. I'm in a comfortable place. I've got a few debts I've got, you know, I'm paying some bills here and there to people, you know, I'm working on it. I've gone on my journey, and there's a lot of lessons, and there's a lot of lessons I'm still paying back, and I'm going to keep paying them back.
Yeah.
That's how I landed where I'm at today.
That's amazing, man. Tell us a little bit more about Clarity Credit.
We focus a lot on taking people who don't even know it's possible to be an entrepreneur. Like I work with mostly small businesses and startups, but there's a lot of people that are leaving the tech industry or leaving some other corporate type of job. That's some of my favorite clients that don't know how, if you have this, like an 800 credit score or whatnot, that you can get access to business funding. And the simple things are that you can get business credit cards. It's easy to open up an LLC, and under that LLC, you can get business credit cards. You can max these business credit cards out, you know, 100 to 200 grand in business credit cards. And that's enough for most people to start their first venture. But it's about staying in your lane. You're really good at that. Like I'm good at this little like financial niche, and I stay in my lane just like you do too. And then when we need the help, we reach out to experts.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. What were some of the other biggest challenges that you faced within your journey so far?
I think one of the biggest challenges I faced was just that time, like, you know, just a few years ago, just when I was lost in my early 30s, of just like restarting and having to learn new skill sets. But it was about building the vessel. Like building the vessel means you build, you know, something, you build a company that's going to be able to generate you the income you want, like just like a, you know, literally like a bowl that the water is going to get poured into to collect your blessings. You got to build that bowl, you got to build that company. And then also just building the physical vessel, like building your body to be able to go to higher places. You know, like if we're gonna, you know, go on a road trip to, you know, from Los Angeles to Las Vegas, like do you want to go in like a broken down car that's missing a wheel, or do you want to go in like, you know, something brand new? I don't know, like a 2024 G63 AMG, like murdered out, you know, like something comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, like you got to build the physical vessel. You got to make, you know, your body, mind, and spirit strong. And I think that's the thing. It's about creating, you know, the business vessel to collect the blessings, but also the physical vessel to collect the blessings. You know, being on point physically, in the gym, diets right, and then just your overall like environment of like being in a wholesome environment. You know, are you meditating? Are you, you know, reaching out to a higher power? You know, whatever religion, whatever type of spiritual brand you're in. It's about getting into this mindset of, giving, being a giver, and, serving a higher purpose, because believe me, chasing the money is just gonna, but learn that lesson for themselves. You gotta get the money and then come to that place like, oh, okay, this isn't what I thought it was gonna turn out to be.
100%.
And then they'll, go on that inner journey. But
Yeah.
this is just the nature of the beast.
So Matthew, what is your definition of a mogul?
A mogul is an individual that vividly understands their skill set and their gift to the world, and they're able to articulate it and manifest it to their greatest ability on this earth plane. They are a master of their craft, and they're at a point in their life where they can be a giver and they can share that with other people. They can mentor others, and they can give back.
I would say you're quite the mogul yourself. What do you think has made you the mogul you are today?
Really, it's just not being afraid to fail. Like, I was always willing to adapt to changes and to keep trying. Consistency, and then self-discipline, and then the belief that I'm going to make tomorrow better than what today was. Like, 3 core basics. Because if you can do those 3 core basics, the world is yours.
Wow,
So,
that's profound.
yeah.
Where can people find you? Clarity Credit Fund.
You could just follow me at Matthew Gedz on Instagram, and then you've got Clarity Credit Fund as well on Instagram.
Awesome.
And then www.claritycreditfund.com as well for any inquiries.
Fantastic.
For any of your financial service needs.
Yes,
So,
please do reach out. Super honored to have you on the show. Matthew, do you have any final words for the guests watching that might need some words of wisdom to start that next business venture, that next big business idea?
sure. I mean, let's keep it simple. Simple. No need to overcomplicate it. Just don't be afraid to fail. Keep trying. Discipline and consistency. The consistent guy is always going to beat out the guy with the next greatest idea. That's really what it comes down to. Just keep going.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Beige Moguls. Really enjoyed my conversation with Matthew Gedz. If you guys found this information valuable, insightful, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Most of you guys watching this are not yet subscribed to this channel. Our mission is to build the world's largest community of CEOs and entrepreneurs. So please do join the community. See you guys on the next episode.